Hi everybody, it's Dr. Andrew Markey here. I'm going to talk to you today about the unique importance of sweating and the role it's played in helping humans become the dominant alpha predator on planet Earth. It's a really quite surprising and important subject, and I hope you find some of what I talk about really quite interesting. Sweating is actually incredibly important thing to talk about. Most mammals, and humans are mammals, most mammals barely sweat at all. But humans are unique because we've used sweating and developed it over evolution over thousands of years to be our primary method of heat loss. This was absolutely critical during the time when our ancestors were based in Africa. Methods to lose heat were critical, and we're covered with 2 to 4 million sweat glands, what we call eccrine sweat glands. And when we're sweating heavily in high temperature conditions, we can lose up to 3 litres of sweat an hour. So why have we evolved this particular mechanism for heat control? Because other mammals, such as the desert camel, don't sweat as much as we do. We sweat twice as much as desert camels, and we sweat 5 times more than horses. And they're our 2 closest sweating cousins in our mammal groups. On the African plains, when our ancestors were hunting for food, we were surrounded by prey, animals if you like, that all ran much faster than we did. And every time humans got close to the animals quickly ran away. And this cycle of catching up and then the animals escaping was played out repeatedly. But eventually, the animals would tire and get heat exhaustion and have to stop. But our sweating mechanism, which we carried with us in our body, was like an ensuite air conditioning system, if you like, and this enabled humans to catch up with and eventually kill the faster running prey. So slow and steady and cool, if you like, wins the hunting race. And this ability to sweat and keep our core temperature under control is thought to lie behind the reason why humans became the alpha predators on the planet. Now, sweating nowadays in conditions which are not high temperature is not required in quite the same way. But as a thermoregulatory mechanism, that means a temperature control mechanism, it's absolutely crucial that sweating keeps our body within a narrow range of temperatures, between 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, because outside of this narrow temperature band, our human brain cannot function. In fact, it starts to die. So temperature regulation is one of the 2 critical aspects of brain functioning. So this is why, historically, we've developed sweating as our main mechanism of heat control. There are other ways to control our body temperature, such as radiation. That's why our skin flushes, for instance, when we're hot, but it's less efficient than sweating. The downside of sweating, however, is if you are putting out 2 to 3 litres of sweat an hour, you need to make sure that you replace that fluid by drinking. But nowadays, we don't tend to need to thermoregulate in quite the same way because we live in houses and we've got clothing. But this environmental capability continues. Nowadays, sweating can be quite an inconvenience. An inconvenience because it can produce shadowing on our clothes, and an inconvenience because the bacteria that are on our skin can break some of the sweat components down, particularly from something called our apocrine sweat glands, and that can produce body odour. Now, body odour, or pheromones, smelling substances that the body makes, used to be important for attracting mates and for establishing superiority in areas. But now it's not such a good dating move, so the importance of body odour has also declined. How can we go about treating sweating? There's a lot of topical products that can be used that will decrease sweating, antiperspirants if you like. These topical products tend to be based on metal chemicals such as aluminium salts, which block the pores through which the eccrine sweat escapes. This works very nicely for many people, and there are increasing strengths of these topical products. But at least 10% of us sweat excessively and don't respond to these simple procedures. And there are therefore other techniques that dermatologists might use. These might include excision of the sweating skin area, but that obviously produces scarring. Certain energy-based devices such as microwaves can be used to literally cook the skin where the sweat glands are to reduce sweating. But a real revolution in treating excessive sweating, what we call hyperhidrosis, came when it was realised that botulinum toxin injections, often going by the trade name Botox, were found to be incredibly effective when injected into localised areas of the body, particularly in the axilla, in the hairline, and on the palms of the hands. And once or twice yearly botulinum toxin injections can dramatically reduce the sweating for approximately 95% in many patients' cases. So it's been a true miraculous treatment for excessive sweating. Separate from heat regulation, there's another form of sweating, what we call emotional sweating. That's when you're stressed. You'll have noticed that your palms, your soles of your feet, and sometimes parts of your face will sweat due to stress. This is actually the basis for the lie detector test that is popular in America, because when you sweat under pressure, the electrical resistance of your skin changes, and they're able to see on the polygram, the lie detector test, whether you're actually telling the truth or not. One other additional advantage of sweat is that it's high in the salt sodium, and the secreted sodium onto the very superficial layer of the skin, the stratum corneum, changes the chemistry of the surface of our stratum corneum. It produces a condition we call high salinity, and microbes invading bacteria don't function well in a high salt environment, and therefore sweating also plays a role in increasing the barrier function of our skin against invading pathogens in the environment. So sweating is one of the master skills of human skin, lying behind our probable dominance on the planet Earth in the hunting stakes, and also helps with our skin barrier effectiveness. And now, particularly with the advent of botulinum toxin injections, for the small percentage of the population who don't do well with topical antiperspirants, it's a fantastic, long-lasting treatment, albeit requiring repeat injections once or twice a year. So there you have sweating, a quick overview. If you've got any important points, interesting questions or thoughts, please pop your comments down below, subscribe, and I'll respond to them as I can in future episodes. I'll be doing these videos on a weekly basis, and I will be scanning what the comments are. So thanks for watching. I hope you found it informative, and I'll see you next time.